that we don't see this so often. In fact, a few years ago, there were children dying in Ireland of measles. I think there were 2 children died in Ireland.
And what causes measles?
Country.
What causes
measles is caused by a virus, and it's spread by coughing, it's spread by sneezing, it's spread by close contact.
So let me let me ask you this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to squeeze it out of you.
Yeah.
If it's viral. If children's immune systems are strong, God bless you again, on the truth, if it's a viral thing and children's immune systems are strong, what's the problem? Is it because our children's immune systems are now so shot that they cannot deal with an ordinary childhood illness?
No, I don't believe that to be true. You have 3 children in the class, one gets a cold, that child sneezes in his class over his 2 classmates. One of them may get a cold and one of them may not. But all 3 of those children are perfectly healthy. That's just the nature of disease.
I didn't say that, though. I'm asking you as a medic, and you've got an ology, and I've only got half an ology.
I have got an ology.
Yeah, and an allergy, it sounds like, too. But if all 3 children's immune system were very, very strong, they would deal with it differently, wouldn't they? Who's done that test? Who's done that scientific test?
Well, I can't quote you a scientific paper about that, but it's an observation, isn't it, that people seem to think that the sanitized country and the sanitized parts that we live in is weakening children. That's why there's more eczema, there's more allergies and this kind of thing. It's a theory. It's not.
It's not science.
Out papers to prove that. You can dig out papers to disprove that. But that's the same with modern medicine. But you have to weigh this in the balance. And my ending argument really would be it's a numbers game. And the numbers are that most children who get measles will get over it. A very few minority get very serious complications.
That's what needs to be said, and I bless you, Dr. Rob in Bermondsey. And actually, he has to go because we're going to travel, but that is the kind of doctor you want, someone who will talk to you, not frighten you, not put messages up on pieces of paper which saying you are irresponsible if you go your way. Brilliant, Dr. Rob there. It is now 2:45. Travel with the lovely Alan Joyce. It's 2:50. The body is a really delicate organism. The tiniest bit of something can make you go weird. A little tiny bit of caffeine and you can be running up and down the stairs. A little bit of, potassium, I don't know, whatever they put in these drinks can make you itch. The body is a finely tuned animal. We are animals. Obi in Richmond was looking at his sister's London County Council Public Health Department immunisation record card from 1966. Between 2 and 4 months of age, she was injected for diphtheria, tetanus and whooping cough. 2 to 4 months of age. 8 weeks. That little tiny body was injected for diphtheria, tetanus and whooping cough. Between 6 and 8 months, she was injected for poliomyelitis. 15 months diphtheria, again 16 months a smallpox test. 5 years diphtheria, tetanus and poliomyelitis. So my question is, says Obi, when did the immunisation for the measles and mumps start? I know that I had an allergic reaction to whooping cough as a baby, so I had no further jabs, not even the BCG at secondary school. It's all government spin, says Obi. Children don't need the triple jab. And Helen says, if there's such a fear of measles epidemic because of lack of take-up of the MMR, why don't they make it easier to have the jabs individually? That way, surely more children would be vaccinated. There seems to be an agenda for reaching a target to wipe out measles by a certain date, but at what cost to individuals? She concludes, it's so difficult for young mums now, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's such a minefield and you have to live with the consequences of your decision, whichever way you vote. And I think the reason that you fill up my telephone, I mean, there's no calls being able to come in at the minute because you're phoning, is because there isn't a definitive answer. There is no absolute answer. As a parent, whether you are male or female, you have to make a decision based on your family history. Now, I took my daughter who kept getting ear infections when she was a kid, and one of the doctors said to me, if you do not give her an asthma spray and do not do this, that and the other, she will die within a week. You don't say that to a young mum. Well, I mean, I was an old mum, but she was only a little person. And since I had asthma, my mother-in-law died of asthma, and I've told you this before, that doctor didn't take into account where I was coming from. I required him to look in my child's ear and give me some indication of what was going on so I could make an informed decision. I, however, am not like Yasmin in Chelsea. What would you have done in that situation?
I'm just wondering how much longer your program is on air, because I give hundreds of MMR vaccines, and all the work that we do in general practice is probably being undone by your program in 15 minutes, and I think it's very irresponsible.
Why?
It doesn't seem to be based on any facts. I'm very sorry to hear that your child had autism, but if you
somebody else's child had autism.
Somebody else's child. I'm very sorry to hear that, but if they read the Wakefield study in the Lancet in 1998, Dr. Wakefield actually said that he didn't prove an association between MMR and...
Well, he wasn't really allowed to have his say, was he, Yasmin? I mean, it was kind of...
I think he was. I think he said it recently in court.
But you're not...
As I know, he's being tried for medical negligence, and I think that your program is extremely irresponsible.
Let me just ask you this. Let me ask you this before you go on with that. If you are so certain that your MMR jab is correct, how can 15 minutes on LBC 97.3 rock what people are thinking?
Well, you'd be surprised, and at the moment we are expecting a measles epidemic, and it's because of people like Ken Livingstone, people like yourself. You talk about young mothers who have a very difficult decision to make, and I agree, they do, and I spend a lot of time talking to them, but people like you don't really make it any easier for them. And you were just talking about somebody with an ear infection. Well, I've been talking to somebody I know who had a child who woke up with the contents of their ear on their pillow, and that was down to the rubella virus. So you really need to think about what you're doing here and why you're doing it.
But you see, I could argue, Yasmin, that you have to think about it too. I'm allowed.
I do every day.
And so do I, as a parent. And that's what I'm saying.
I'm a parent, and one of my children has had 3 doses of measles, and, you know, there's no problem with it.
But if she's
you could have 100 doses of measles and it would do nothing. There's no problem.
But why then give them the vaccine if they get the measles? I never can understand that.
We don't give vaccines to measles to children who have had measles. They need a combined vaccine of measles, mumps and rubella. If they have one dose, the studies show that they possibly need to be revaccinated within a couple of years to make sure that protection carries on through life.
Do you not think, though, that as a parent, I am allowed to make a decision about what I put in my kid's body?
Yes, and do you not think that a parent whose child has cancer and is having chemotherapy, who has a much lower resistance to things like measles, mumps and rubella, has a right to their child to go to a normal primary school, but because there may be one child in the class, such as yours, who is lucky to have decent immunity, that child might get measles, mumps or rubella and die.
Yasmin, my daughter did not have decent immunity, which is exactly why I didn't have her inoculated.
We wait until your child is well and fit enough to give the MMR.
But I don't want my child to be fiddled with all sorts of stuff that's in a vaccine. Now, let me finish.
Could you tell me what's in the vaccine? What do you think is in the vaccine? Well, then how can you make a decision for your child? And you're talking about parents having to make decisions for the child, but if you go into any secondary school, which I have done, and we've been asked to vaccinate kids against MMR, they all say they want it. If you deny immunisation, you're denying health to your child and other children.
No, my child is absolutely strong and healthy in many ways.
Well, you're one of the lucky ones, aren't you? If your kid had chemotherapy and that sort of thing,
Yasmin,
you would want them protected, wouldn't you?
Stop being so dramatic about it. If you
I think you need to think what you're doing in this program. You're doing a lot of damage.
And I think
you're doing a lot of damage.
Well, maybe I don't think so.
You don't know what you're talking about. You can't even tell me what's in an MMR vaccine, so you shouldn't be talking about
it. Well, I can get it. Shall I get it off the internet, Yasmin?
Yeah, get it off the internet, find a reliable source, such as the Department of Health.
Really?
And then I might listen to you, yeah.
The Department of Health frightens people. Thanks, Yasmin, for your call. I think it's quite interesting. When I was told I had a high blood sugar, I was told in that room I had diabetes. I don't have diabetes. I had high blood sugar. My blood sugar's normal now, but they frighten me, which is what people like Yasmin does. This is LBC 97.3.